7 things I wish I knew sooner as an artist. Number 1, don't make art for compliments. If your happiness and your passion for creating art relies solely on what other people say about it, you're only preventing yourself from growing the persistence that you need to continue in your art. Not everyone will like your art, and that's okay. Their opinion has nothing to do with whether you are an artist or not. You are an artist when you can persist through their destruction and through their negativity to create what brings you joy. It's definitely easier said than done, and it doesn't mean liking a compliment is bad, but relying on a compliment or compliments of your art is not healthy. If you struggle with feeling like you need a compliment in order to be motivated to create your art, try complimenting yourself. It sounds a little silly, but after you do it a bunch, you start to believe the words that you say, and you actually start to feel better about yourself. Number 2, art is collaborative, not competitive. It's really easy to get in the mindset of envying other artists' art. It doesn't feel great to think that someone else is seemingly doing better at something that you also put a lot of work and passion into. If this is something that you struggle with, instead of criticizing yourself for why your art doesn't look like the other person's art, try to reframe the situation by asking yourself instead, what specifically about your art makes you unhappy and that you want to change? Remember to use soft and kind words toward yourself. Instead of seeing someone else's art and thinking, wow, my art sucks compared to theirs, or they're so much better than me. Instead, say, wow, I really like the way their line art was, for example, and think, how can I be inspired by the way that they did their line art to improve my own? Your creation of your art does not have to be independent. It's okay to be inspired and to take inspiration from other artists. Not only is it important to be kind to others, it's also important to be kind to yourself. Number 3, you don't find your art style. Your art style finds you. While all of these tips have related to me, I think this one relates to me the most. For a long time, I struggled with the idea of what my art style was, and I thought that it was something that I could create and decide and manicure. I wanted something that represented the version of myself that I wanted everyone else to see. It wasn't until recently when I started creating art out of happiness and for the joy of doing it that I actually found my art style, and it was much different than I was trying to force it to be. When I create my art out of passion and happiness and the love of making art, it's organic and colorful and magical and imperfect. It's okay to take inspiration from others' art styles, but know that the art style that you evoke in your artwork is truly a representation of you when it comes from a place of happiness and joy and creation. Which also brings us to number 4. Your art style is allowed to change. Maybe you're an established artist, and maybe people expect a certain look from your art after all the time you've been creating it. And maybe you want to bring something else to the table. That's okay. You're a human and you're not a printer. You should be creating what you love to do. Your happiness and your willingness to pursue your art is much, much more important than what other people expect from you. If you have a new art style that wants to emerge, let it and welcome it. Number 5, try everything once. It's easy and rewarding to stick with what we know we like to do, but if we only stick to what we know we like to do, we'll never find the things that we might like to do more. For example, until half a year ago, I had never touched an alcohol marker, and now they're one of my favorite art things to use. Similarly, you might pick up an art thing that doesn't bring you joy. For example, I really don't like working with pastels, and I only know that because I tried it, and that's okay too. Think of it as self-exploration and self-growth. Trying something new is good for you and healthy and refreshing, and also solidifying in your own current beliefs. Which brings us also to number 6. you don't have to be a master of all media. So maybe you picked up an art thing and it didn't really bring you joy, but almost every other art thing brings you joy, so now you're feeling kind of down. I totally get that. It's okay to just stick with what you like to use, and I would advocate for that. You shouldn't force yourself to use something that actively makes you unhappy. You're still just as much of an artist if you only like to use graphite or if you only like to use watercolor paints. You're not any more of an artist to like to use everything, and you're not any less of an artist to like to use only one thing. All that being said, there is a balance between growing and staying stuck. But you know yourself better than I do, so I can only give you little tips and little motivations to help you grow. I can't force you. Number 7, display your artwork. Not only might this be a good exercise in building your confidence, but it also might help you realize the things that you want to work on in your art or that you want to change. Sometimes we can get stuck in a hole where we draw something in a sketchbook and we're not very proud of it, and so we close the sketchbook and put it back in the desk or back under the bed where we don't see it and we don't look at it, maybe because we're ashamed or we don't want other people to judge us. And while it's okay to feel that way, it also prevents us from growing. Having our artwork on our wall, even if it's just in our own bedroom for only our eyes to see, can help us normalize what our art looks like and either become more comfortable with our art style or realize what changes we'd like to make in order to be happier with our art. Personally, I like to display my artwork. It's a reminder to myself that I'm capable of giving back to the world and contributing and spreading creativity. Secret number 8 that you weren't expecting because I only said 7. So you're an artist and you have a lot of confidence and you think you're really good at what you do and you bring other people joy and you bring yourself joy. That's wonderful, and I'm so proud that you're in this position. But now, don't abuse it. I spend a lot of time trying to motivate you and help you build the confidence that you deserve to feel in order to grow and pursue art, because a lot of people just give up. But there's also the other side of the coin where an artist can become a little bit too confident, and it's okay to be confident and it's okay to like your work. But when you start impeding on other people's artwork and you start to become unkind or give unsolicited advice on their art, that is not okay. It's every artist's responsibility, in my opinion, to be kind and welcoming and giving of room for growth to other artists. When we criticize another artist just because we think that we are superior in some way to them, we are only causing damage. No one is benefiting but your ego when you say something unkind or when you gloat about your own artwork. It is a fine line to cross between the feeling of gloating and bragging or feeling confident in your artwork, and it is scary and you'll likely make mistakes. A very good and simple way to think about it is if you wouldn't want someone saying that about your art, probably don't say that about theirs. This does include giving unsolicited opinions too. Just because you're an artist looking at someone else's artwork does not mean that you suddenly have the right to criticize it or give unsolicited advice on how to make their art better. If they ask you, explicitly asking for your opinion on how they could improve, then go for it. But if they're not asking and they're just showing you, probably don't say it. Here's an example of me asking an explicit question that I would like you to respond to in the comments below. How can I improve my videos and what do you want to see? I actually would really love to read all of your comments. I do read all of your comments on my shorts. I would love to know what stands out to you about my long form videos and if there's any other ways that I can improve. remember that you're a wonderful artist and you need to subscribe. Okay, bye.